And H, if you're watching this, I would love for you to apologize to me and to my brother, because you know nothing ever happened to you. We're all a bunch of kids having a good time drinking. I was with P, my brother was with Kat, and it's very sad that me and my brother and my whole family had to go through this. I was never convicted of rape. I was convicted of oral copulation with a minor. I was 18, she was under 18, and I agreed to take a plea deal that I got a blowjob from her. Now, what 14-year-old girl do you know that is addicted to alcohol, ecstasy, and marijuana? I don't know any.
Well guys, we are back once again with the biggest dumbass that currently roams the internet. Good old King Azoulay. And you see, the wannabe king here apparently decided that it was a great idea to go ahead and release another response video only a few hours ago. After, he ended up deleting the first one because it just ended up being a complete and utter shit show. A shit show that blew up in his face harder than the 30 different men that he decided to beat off. And I have to say that this new one is pretty damn interesting, to say the least, and it appears that his main defense is that it didn't happen whatsoever, and is based on him just attempting to discredit the victim of the case along with her parents throughout it. So we're just going to go ahead and jump straight on into it and get a full look at what he is now attempting to say, since the first time around did not go well whatsoever.
I spent the last 6 weeks of my life digging into a case that happened to me almost 20 years ago. You see, there is an asshole guy out there who decided he was going to destroy my name. But I gotta tell you, I'm absolutely blessed that he did what he did. I would have never found out the things that I just found out. You see, the first video that I made for you was just me going off of what I remembered. The information that John Bravo got was from the case that was a civil case. A case that I never even knew existed. But today, I know everything about that case. I went to the courts, I grabbed my lawyers, I grabbed my advisors to go through everything that happened to me almost 20 years ago. The thing that they said that I didn't do. If the police were involved, and the judges, and the DAs, and the investigators, they found me innocent, who are you to sit there and tell me that I'm guilty? I was never convicted of rape. I was convicted of oral copulation with a minor. I was 18, she was under 18, and I agreed to take a plea deal that I got a blowjob from her.
Alright, so we are already only 1 minute and 7 seconds in, and this motherfucker right here just admitted in the most casual way that he possibly could that he pled guilty for receiving a BJ from a damn minor. Like, homie really said that shit like it was nothing at all. And it isn't like he was 18 and she was 17. Which, by the way, is still illegal, but instead it looks like she was a solid 3 years younger than him. Because in the papers John Bravo released, she appeared to be 15 years old, and I mean shit, even Ben himself went ahead and commented that he was 18 and she was 16, and asked what the problem was. So either way, the shit is illegal regardless, and is something that I would not be agreeing to plea to if I was in this damn situation. But hey, don't worry, because he then decided to go on and explain his reasoning as to why he entered this plea right here.
They were trying to teach me a lesson, because a year before that, when I was underage, I had a fight with my ex-girlfriend. She cheated on me. I got hell of upset, and I smacked her in the back of the head. At that time, my mom had cancer. She was the only thing I had, and she cheated on me with a guy who got her and I to break up because he told her parents that I was a bad guy. They found my pictures on MySpace with guns, a bunch of pictures with friends of mine who were gang members, Bloods, MS-13, 18th Street, BOP. I was hanging out with gangs all the time. So at the time when she told me in the car that she cheated on me, I yelled at her. She pushed me, said, "Don't yell at me." I smacked her in the back of the head. Shit happens, you're a young boy. I was 17 years old. So the judge wanted to teach me a lesson. So that way I don't have involvements like that any longer. And I didn't.
So let me try to get this straight right here. Let's go ahead and try to play into this a little bit. So the judge apparently somehow forced you to accept a plea deal for a misdemeanor sex offense to punish you for a unprosecuted DV assault that was on your girlfriend? And not only was this unprosecuted, or at least it appears to be unprosecuted since you didn't provide any evidence for it even happening, but it was on an entirely different person in general. Like, what did you do in this DV to warrant you wanting to agree to a sex offense in order to not get stuck with it? Did you smack her in the head 40 times or something, or knock her out? Like, what the hell would possibly make you accept something like this? Maybe I'm reading it wrong or misunderstanding you, but the shit just doesn't make sense in my mind. And just putting this goofy ass excuse for you taking the plea deal to the side, you just admitted to hitting a woman, so now we also know that about you. Like, how much shit are you about to admit to throughout all of this? And you just have to love how he goes ahead and tries to say that he was in all of these different gangs, and almost says it as if he's bragging about it, when it's already hard enough to trust a single thing that comes out of his mouth, due to all of his current claims about all of the other bullshit in his past. But now he apparently also had affiliates with MS-13, and a variety of other gangs that he decided to list that I'm pretty sure are enemies with each other. And after this, he then pretty much went on to tell his side of the story, which I am just gonna go ahead and play in full so you can get an idea of what he's trying to say happened at the party, and so that you can fully grasp his entire side of the story.
Let me share with you what exactly I remember that happened that night, and then what actually I found out that happened, because I had to think about it over and over and over again. Again, remember, it was almost 20 years ago, and you also have to understand, I was 18 years old. Yeah, I was fighting. Yes, I owned guns. Yeah, I was homeless right before that, but I was still an 18-year-old boy. I remember that I was thinking that I'm only going to a party to meet a couple of girls, meet some friends. My brother talked to this girl, they were talking to each other. She was with a friend, I liked the friend liked me. I asked my parents to throw a kickback at my house, so my parents let me use the house. I still always had a room there. I still, until today, have a room at my mom's house. Israeli parents, no matter what, they'll throw you out, they'll bring you back in. I didn't understand it back then, but today I do. So I get my parents to let me use their house, have a kickback, and these two girls brought a girl with them. And that girl is H. She came with us to the house. You know, we're all having some drinks and stuff. She starts going wild. She started taking off her clothes. She was in an underwear and bra. Started walking around to the guys, asking them if they will fuck her. And all of us didn't understand what was going on with her. But she started jumping around. She went into my parents' house. We're all in the backyard. Started jumping on the beds from room to room to room. When she fell on the floor, I was like, what the hell is happening with her? I need to get this girl out of my house. So the girl that was with me that night, she literally helped me take her out of my house. So the fact that John Bravo brought the allegations that me and my brother did things to her in the room and all of that, that actually wasn't her testimonial. That was her parents. But I'm gonna share with you that a little bit later. So she started jumping everywhere and we got her out of the house. And eventually she asked Mayor, which you guys already know his name, she asked him to sleep with her. But Mayor couldn't get it up. It was in front of everybody. And because he couldn't get it up, they stopped. Things calmed down. Everybody was cool. Everybody was okay. My parents came back home. H was already dressed. Mayor, who my parents didn't like for another reason, another thing that happened between me and him, he said, I'm going to go home. So H said to him, will you drop me off in West Hills? And he said, sure, come, I'll take you. My parents came outside, and as she was getting up to leave, my mom said hi to everybody, and H said to my mom, thank you for having me. She smiled and she left with Mayor. Why did she get in the car with him and drove with him from Sherman Oaks all the way to West Hills? Come to find out, she wanted to get dropped off at the house of the boy who she actually went to the party for, and the first party that we went to. And that's where Mayor dropped her off. John Bravo put in one of his videos that she escaped, but she didn't escape. What she did was get a ride to go to another boy's house, a boy that she wanted to sleep with.
And there you have it, his entire story, an entire link of events from that night, where apparently his freaky deaky 18-year-old ass was watching two minors try to get down in front of everyone at the party. And as you heard him state in the beginning of the video, he did not actually receive a blowjob from the girl, and is maintaining that he did not have any type of sexual relations with her at all. And it appears that he continued this trend in his little legal documents that he provided, and at the part where it's discussing his guilty plea, It says that he ended up pleading guilty to getting a BJ from a girl who was 3 years younger than him, even though he never even got the BJ from that girl. And along with this, it also mentions Dylan's charge, and states that he never actually had intercourse with the girl. And when I was taking a look through pretty much everything, I couldn't help but notice one thing. And that is the fact that in the documentation that John Bravo brought forward, it ends up stating that Ben, Dylan, and M were subsequently arrested and interviewed by the police. And I want to emphasize the fact that this was by the police, where it stated that Ben and Dylan admitted to knowing that H was underage and highly intoxicated, and admitted to having sexual contact with H. It also stated that Dylan tried to deny it initially, since he told police that he had no reason to do so, because at the age of 14, he had had sex more than 40 times and could get it from any number of girls that he wanted. And it follows this up by saying Ben and Dylan also informed the police that they have watched M go ahead and rape H. And this all appears to fit into what Ben said through his own version of events in his documentation, where he stated that the morning the police arrived, Ben, his brother Dylan, K, and P cooperated with the police, giving their testimony as to what truly happened. And it obviously differs by the fact that it says that their attitude was, we did nothing wrong, and what would we try to hide? And it just states that you shouldn't say anything, even if you're 100% innocent, and you should hire a lawyer, because it says that the police took them into custody anyway. Now, I can't help but wonder why the police took them into custody if it really is as Ben said it was, and they had no evidence. But the fact that they took them into custody really makes it seem that John Bravo's side of things, and his paperwork that he just showed, might be more realistic. And I don't know how Ben could respond to this, because he just didn't, or at least I didn't see him do so, because there's only a few ways he could respond, which is to say that what was said in that about the police and about them telling the police was a lie, to say that the court document itself is just complete bullshit and John Bravo's lying, or maybe they really did admit to some sort of sexual contact when they were speaking with the police that morning. And the thing is, this seems to line up even more when you look at the fact that both of them pled to having sexual intercourse at some point. So it kinda looks like that Ben might be lying about never having any sexual contact in general, but then on top of that, you also have the medical report that John Bravo also ended up providing, that stated that H was transported to the hospital where she was examined for trauma by a trauma nurse who found evidence of vaginal and anal tearing, bite marks, and bruising. So what's going on here, Ben? Is John just lying? Are these documents just complete bullshit? Are they testimony from someone who just wasn't there and is making false claims by what was reported to the police? And false claims by what a nurse ended up reporting? And you pleaded for absolutely no reason? Or did some sort of sexual contact end up occurring? Now obviously, I wasn't there that morning to see what you told police, and I wasn't there when the trauma nurse examined her, and I wasn't there the night of the incident, but it seems like you have quite a few holes with your retelling of things. And after he told his side of the story, he then proceeded to go on, and he tried to explain why he actually ended up taking the plea deal, which he said was because he had a very shitty lawyer who was working together with the judges and all to go ahead and milk him for as much money as they could.
Now, we don't know what happened after she got dropped off at that boy's house. We don't know if she went in. We don't know if she slept with him. The only thing we know is that something happened with that boy, and he probably told her to leave. And when she had nowhere to go, her only option was to call her parents. And when she called her parents, to avoid having to deal with them, having to face some consequences for going out and doing something more than just drinking. So when she called her parents to avoid having to deal with them, she thought, I'm gonna say I got raped, and they're just going to let it go, and they'll probably hug me and tell me that it's okay and we'll be done. But when she said that, and they went and picked her up and took her back home, they drilled her to know where she was and who she was hanging out with. So she told them that she was at Ben's house. She didn't want to give up the boy's name that she liked, that she went back to his house. But she gave my name, my house. The people that sent the police to my house was not H, it was her parents. Her parents are the ones that spoke to the police. We have it on paper where she said, I don't want them prosecuted, because she did not get, but her parents forced it. So police came and arrested me and my brother. And they also went and arrested Mayor. The reason Mayor got out of it was because his lawyer was so adamant about getting H to the stand to speak about Mayor, but she didn't want to be a part of it. My stupid lawyer had me take a plea deal instead of saying, I want to get her to the stand. These boys didn't do anything, but he didn't do that. He took his money and he ran off with it. Stuck me with a fucked up deal for something I didn't do. It's funny how my own lawyer sat in front of me going, hey, for you get 15 to 20 years. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't do it. He's like, yeah, but they want you. I'm like, what do you mean they want me? I didn't do it. Yeah, but they want you. Today I understand that judges and lawyers and the other lawyer, they all work together. Their job is to take as much money as they can out of you. And when they can't take any more, to just end the case. So what did he do when he knew that my family didn't have money? He forced me into a deal. And I called him. He's retired. Mr. Korn is out of the picture. It's crazy, when I called his office, and it seemed like he knew he fucked up. He didn't want to meet me face to face. I told him you should be ashamed of yourself for what you put me through. Because you knew you could have fought this, but you didn't. All you cared about was money. And because we didn't have a lot of money, you just wanted to get this fucking case over with.
So apparently, we are just changing all types of shit up from his last little response video. Because now, not only was his family apparently poor and not wealthy like they were in the first video, but he is also claiming that the judge was conspiring with the lawyers to milk them for as much money as they could. Now, if they were really poor, I don't know why they were milking them for money, because there ain't shit to milk. But on top of that, in the last response video, the way he framed it when he was talking about why he pled guilty was so that he could save his family, like he was some sort of sacrifice, and that the judge was really just trying to help him out. Like, just look at this change-up right here.
And my lawyer said, listen, if we go to trial, we're going to win. The only thing is that it's going to cost your parents money to go to trial. The judge gave us an offer. The judge came and said to my lawyer, look, I could remove the $50 million because the lawsuit was on me. It was my parents' house. It was on the homeowner's insurance, and it was on my parents. I wanted that removed more than anything. The judge says, listen, I have a great deal and we can finish all of this. I'll tell them to remove the $50 million lawsuit because what they need is real justice. But I'll also let them know that there wasn't any and that they're going to lose this case regardless. So how about we do that? We get me, Ben Azoulay, to plead guilty to Code 288, which means oral copulation with a minor.
What, are you retarded?
But she said, I'll give him that. All of it will be expunged off of his record. He'll spend 30 days in jail to make it seem like it's a lot. And you'll be done with it. So he comes to me and tells me about the deal. And I say, but they will remove the lawsuit, the $50 million lawsuit, off of my parents and everybody? He says yes. He says, listen, son, sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. Be sure you're being the hero here.
So Ben, which one is it at this point? Was the judge trying to help you out like you said in your last one, even though for some reason they just didn't have any evidence against you and it was really just about the lawsuit? So they said if you pleaded guilty for a crime you didn't commit, then the lawsuit would disappear? Or was your judge conspiring with the lawyer in order to milk you for as much money as they could? Like, what's going on here, man? Which one could it be? And on top of that, you weren't forced into accepting any plea deal. Your lawyer works for you. You don't have to take a plea deal if you don't want to, especially when it was for something that you claimed you didn't do whatsoever and that you claimed there was absolutely no evidence for. So why in the hell would you take a plea deal admitting to a sex offense for something that there was no evidence for? Because if there was clearly no evidence for that, then there should have been no evidence for their little lawsuit. Like, either you're one of the dumbest motherfuckers I've ever seen, and you just had the shittiest lawyer ever, paired with a judge who's just corrupt as hell, or something else is going on here. And then, after all of this, he then went on to do what I can only consider as trying trying to discredit the girl, along with her parents, so that he could kind of paint her as just being crazy and as saying things that didn't happen.
All of them saw the truth and could have let me and my brother go, but they held us for months, coming back and forth to the courts, fucking us for more money, more time, more trauma. All of that because a girl didn't want to get into trouble with her parents. So let me give you facts about what we found. H was addicted to alcohol, marijuana, and ecstasy. H was seeing a psychiatrist 7 months before she met us. She was also seeing a psychologist. The psychologist referred her to the psychiatrist, but her parents was seeing a psychologist, and their psychologist was speaking to H's psychologist. And the reason they were seeing a psychologist because they didn't know how to interact with their daughter. H was fighting at school, not fighting like arguing, fist fighting her peers, other kids in school. It's on the report from her psychiatrist. And again, I might be using terminology not 100% because I'm not a lawyer. I don't know much about the law as much as a lawyer, so I'm going to give it to you guys the best I can. The fact is that her parents could not take care of their child, and they were such bad parents, and they were constantly fighting with her, that eventually H found a way to work with her parents. The way from her psychologist is this. She's extremely manipulative. She used to blackmail her parents. She would say to her parents, if she doesn't get something, she will commit suicide. She was addicted to alcohol, weed, and ecstasy. That night she had alcohol. She also smoked from the weed. And the fact that she jumped like that on all the beds in the house and took off her clothes lets me understand that she took ecstasy. You see, but I didn't know that until I went into the reports. When she was seeing her psychologist for that problem, she was 14. Now, what 14-year-old girl do you know that is addicted to alcohol, ecstasy, and marijuana? I don't know any. Clearly, her parents were very bad parents. So in the notes of her psychiatrist, she was taking Prozac. She started with 10 milligrams, went up to 20, and went up all the way to 30. She was also sneaking out at night to meet older boys. Her parents said to them at the court, said to the judge, she's a virgin. She was not a virgin. She was far from a virgin.
So obviously, this is just a really big character attack from what I'm seeing. And it seems like he's trying to use this in order to show H as being, delusional and showing that she's not the most trustworthy person when it comes to things and that she was struggling before this and has manipulated her parents and she might be doing it again for this case. And yeah, maybe she did have that past and maybe she did have those different issues. But this is pretty damn hypocritical coming from this man right here. The guy who was just talking about how he was involved with a bunch of different gangs that are enemies with each other, how he was taking all these wild pictures on his Facebook, how he was street fighting, and how he was hitting his girlfriend in the back of the head. So the character attacking game, of course, goes both ways. Now, I've never seen someone attack their own character like this, but it all doesn't exclude one really big factor in this entire case, and that is that this dipshit right here entered a plea deal and admitted in open court that he received a BJ from her. And I still just have absolutely no idea why you would have done this when you apparently had all these things against H's character and you had all of this against her parents, and apparently they just had no evidence that proved you did it. And yet for some reason you still took a plea deal. And after this he was still not done, because he then continued to try and explain and tried to paint her parents as just being greedy and money hungry as hell.
When I made the first video, I was telling you guys that everything was about the $50 million lawsuit. I don't understand the law to speak it out as a lawyer. What I was referring to was actually the restitution, not a lawsuit. Thanks to this past 6 weeks, I now understand things almost as good as a lawyer. So there was a restitution, money that they wanted, and they asked in court for $50 million in restitution. But the judge knew that I didn't do anything, and she wanted to throw out this case many times. But they kept going up to the Supreme Court to get this case to keep going because it was all about the money. You see, H never wanted to show up to court. Even when we asked a few times, she didn't show up. Her parents then said that I owe money for the boarding school, but her psychiatrist had in the notes that they were speaking about sending her to boarding school before she met me. When she went to boarding school, there was a tape that was found of her stripping on the pole at her boarding school. She loved getting attention, possibly because her parents didn't give her any love and any attention. And that was one way for her to get attention. So her parents try to say that I owe $50 million, me and my family, in restitution and fees. And at the end of the day, because the judge saw that this was all fake and it's all about the money, she said, no way. And they said, I'm going to pay $13,000 when I take the plea deal. So I took the plea deal and I went into jail and I came out. And after I came out, they still try to tell the judge that I owe more than $13,000. The judge said that $13,000 is more than she would have done, just because she wants to teach me a lesson because of a prior problem that I've had. It's in writing that they wanted to teach me a lesson, and that's why I paid in restitution $13,000. They asked for about $250,000. After we already agreed on the $13,000, they were still fighting. And it took another, year or something like that, or maybe longer, till I even paid them, because they kept fighting for more. Although we agreed for me to take a plea deal and they'll remove the $50 million, turn it into $13,000, but no, they wanted about $250,000.
And it appears that he is just continuing to try and attack characters and try to attack them on these different levels in order to make them look greedy or maybe make them look like they were only after money. And he even claims that she didn't show up to court, which I can really get why she wouldn't want to show up, especially if something like that did actually happen. Because just imagine you had to sit in court and deal with this goober and his attorney. And on top of that, I could see why the parents would be pursuing money and looking for any way to make him pay if they felt like this really did happen to their daughter. And it seems like something definitely did happen since, again, as he just said, he ended up taking a plea deal. And I just can't believe that he sits here and keeps saying that the judge thought all of this was bullshit. And how, in his first response, he said that the cops, medical staff, and judge all found that nothing happened, and yet he's looking to take a plea. And after this, he then goes on to talk about the lawsuit that John Bravo ended up finding, and states that he was never notified that it even ever existed.
I was sure that it was the end. I didn't know that a lawsuit came right after. Matter of fact, by the dates, the lawsuit, when they said that they served me for the lawsuit, now we're going into the lawsuit, the civil suit that got dismissed. I knew nothing about that. Neither did my family. When I was coming in for the restitution hearing, they said that they were serving me. They were telling the other judge that they are serving me. They could have served me in court because the mother went up on the stand twice in front of me in the restitution hearing. She could have served me in my hand. But she didn't. They didn't want to serve me. You see, they had a lawsuit that they won not too long before this lawsuit, where they sued the insurance. So here they sued the insurance again, but this time it was with me. They lost, and I'll tell you exactly what they did the whole time. They told the judge that they are serving me. They told him that they served me. Every letter that they sent out, they sent to a wrong address when they shipped out the mail. They said that they served me in my hands, but at that time, I wasn't even living at that property anymore. Matter of fact, my whole family wasn't living there. It was our tenants that was living there. So they couldn't have served us. But they never signed the paperwork that was served, because by law, that is called perjury. And for that, you could go to jail to up to 10 years. They never signed these documents. When we didn't show up to court, they got a default judgment, which means a default judgment. Because I didn't show up to court, they win. They won the case. But now you have to bring the insurance, and the insurance has to get involved. So yeah, they won the case against us because they never served us. But then the other girl, which was her friend, they sued her parents, but her dad was a lawyer and was very good at getting that case dismissed. They never served me, but they said that they did. They lied in court. They never served me, my dad, my mom, my brother, any of us. But they said that they did, but they didn't sign the paperwork. And when they shipped out the papers, they sent it off to the wrong address. What a coincidence, huh? They knew what they were doing. They knew exactly what they were doing. But let me share with you a little bit more. H told the police that she doesn't want to prosecute us. She doesn't want to press charges. But because she was a minor, her father was acting as the guardian ad litem, which means he speaks as if he is H, and the witness is the mom. But if you will read the whole 2,000 pages, you'll see that there is different testimonials there. There is something that says that Ben H and dragged her into Dylan's room and then dragged her outside. And then there's one that says that Ben H then beat her, then pulled her into Dylan's room. Then Dylan did that with H. And then Mayor dragged H outside, like different testimonials. And the reason is none of that came from H. All of that came from her parents because they were after the money. Although they agreed in the criminal case to leave us alone after they got the restitution, $13,000, they still went and sued the insurance.
And yeah, as you can tell, if we were to buy this, we would have to make quite a few assumptions. Like assuming that he is telling the truth, that he wasn't actually served, which is a very hard thing to do since this man has actually been caught lying about just a multitude of things. Like this motherfucker has said that he's been out training with the monks and that he was in the special forces, along with being homeless and being an underground fighter for the mob. So it makes just taking him at his word that he wasn't actually given the documents very hard to do. And on top of that, it appears that he's out here trying to make the point that since it wasn't actually H testifying, then it is not valid at all because her parents are just money hungry. And it couldn't at all possibly be the fact that H was too scarred to testify and didn't want to relive anything. Or maybe H was intimidated and young and couldn't handle testifying. So instead, her father and mother stepped in for her, which her father can legally do since she is a minor, and did it on her behalf based off of what they knew. And if that is the case, then it does make sense that their stories would slightly vary based off of what they remember from what their daughter telling them. Because when two people hear a story secondhand from their daughter, they're gonna differ a little bit in what actually happened. And it's a crazy assumption to go ahead and just assume they're lying because apparently they're just money hungry, since that is the very thing he's been trying to build up and trying to expose them as this entire time. And after this, he just starts to get really wild with the ending.
So the testimonial that you guys see there is not from H. It's from her father. H never said any of these things, and those things never happened to H. From the bottom of my heart, as much as I'm fucking pissed off at this fucking family, I feel bad for H. H had a very fucked up childhood with some fucked up parents. And H, if you're watching this, I would love for you to apologize to me and to my brother because you know nothing ever happened to you. We're all a bunch of kids having a good time drinking. I was with P. My brother was with Kat, and it's very sad that me and my brother and my whole family had to go through this. And if you ever want to give us a call, you ever want to message me, I messaged you on Facebook saying I just want closure for this because I got fucked for this when I was 18, and now I got fucked for this again. Although nobody did anything wrong to you. And stepping forward and admitting the truth is something that only a grown-up could do. You know, when everybody came at me with all of this, it was like the trauma hitting me again. And at first I thought to myself, motherfucker, how he pictured me to seem like this disgusting human being. But then I thought to myself, now that 6 weeks, 7 weeks have passed, it was actually a very good thing that happened to me. I would have never known the whole story if it wasn't for John Bravo. I would have never known what actually happened that night and what has happened with her before and after. I appreciate the work that you did. And thanks to you, I actually found out how innocent I was. And now I'm looking into reopening the case to clear my name. And if you're a young man that is watching this, remember, you never know how a night could go. You never know how it could end. When you go out and party with young people, or when you go out and party with stupid people, you might end up doing some stupid shit. It might cost you 30 days in jail. It might cost you your life. When you go out, you don't know if you're coming back home. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't do drugs. When you go to a party, you never know if it's your last party, unless you learn how to control yourself. So you, the viewer, watching right now, somebody like John Bravo, who only makes hateful content, do I want to watch influencers that will improve my life? Or do I want to watch John Bravo, who sucks the energy out of me and doesn't help me get anywhere? Because I'll teach you how to make money. I'll teach you how to get rich. I'll teach you how to have any fucking woman you want. I have over 1,000 men who I've guided to greatness, to go towards their legacy. So it's your choice. And for the guys out there that are doubting what I say, me and my lawyers made for you a full article, so you could see piece by piece that King Azoulay doesn't lie.
And you just have to love how he even goes ahead and ends it on a lie by stating that he never lies. And it's amazing the audacity he has to go ahead and ask for an apology from H after he pleaded guilty and took a plea deal for doing something wrong that would have involved her. And overall, this was just insane work in general, because he then also had to end it by throwing more shade at John Bravo and trying to blame everybody, including the lawyer, the judge, H, her family, literally everyone but himself, when he has no one to blame but himself, because even if he didn't do it by some miracle or if he's somehow telling the truth, he still took the plea deal that no one made him take, and it was only his decision whether he was going to take that or not. Now obviously, I don't personally believe him, and I think that he probably just opened himself up to a ton of different defamation lawsuits, and I personally believe that there was no shot that this was the truth, but instead was some of the dumbest shit that I think I could have just watched. But with all of that said, I think I am done with this compulsive lying clown for the day, because this has already been just a shit ton to cover, and I don't know if I can take much more of it, because hearing this guy sit there and talk might be worse than listening to the Island Boys sitting there and singing. So if you enjoyed, please drop a sub and a like, and I'm out. Watching Ben Azoulay continue to try to respond and only make things worse, and peace.
What he did to that poor girl, ruining her life at 15 years old. There was no way this is the only incident he had in his life.
Fuck out of my face. I spent 6 weeks reading through the whole case. Me, my lawyers, my advisors, we all read it. And there was so much shit in there to prove that I was innocent. But he decided to take the bullshit and say that I was guilty of something that I didn't do. If he doesn't want to do a debate because he knows that he's gonna lose, get in the fucking cage with me. You want to be the hero saying that this guy's an asshole, I'll fucking break his face.